From the days of the Aba Women's Riot in 1929 to today's digital age advocacy, the voice of the Nigerian woman has continued to rise. It's been fierce, firm, and of course full of purpose. But how far have we really come? What victories have been won and what battles still lie ahead? On today's episode of Woman to Woman, we dive deep into the rich but often undertold story of women's rights movement in Nigeria and beyond. I am Ameze Bazwai, and with me is a seasoned activist and powerful voice in gender advocacy, someone who has walked the talk and continues to inspire others to rise. Please join me welcome Doris Ugbefun. Good afternoon.
Thank you for having me, Ameze.
It's nice to have you indeed.
Good afternoon.
All right, so without wasting much time, because I know you're passionate about this, let's talk a little bit about what gave rise to women's rights movement in Nigeria.
Okay, we cannot really talk about women's rights movement in Nigeria without bringing on board the global scene. What inspired the movement in Nigeria? Because the world is a global village.
Sure.
It was as a result of what others were doing globally that inspired and gingered the actions that women are taking in Nigeria today. So let's not forget the concept of Karl Marx in conflict theory, because when it has to do with issues around activism and women's rights, it is gotten, this concept is gotten from the Karl Marx theory, the conflict theory, that talks about the labor exploitation. Karl Marx looked at the society, the classes in the society, the bourgeois and the proletariat, and how the class, social class, causes inequality in the society.
Yes.
And challenging this inequality, you know, we must have people who will rebel against the system that is being marginalized, or where some certain class of people are facing disparity in the society. So it's the concept of challenging that system gave birth to feminism.
Okay.
So feminism happened to be the umbrella of all women rights activism all over the world. So though we had the first and second wave, but feminism looked at also a more in a kind of a specialized, generalized approach that critically looks at different social ideas, different social beliefs, and social life and human experiences, you know, and how these experiences affects us in the society. So this is exactly what feminism challenge looks into, you know, because when we talk about inequality, we talk about sexes, how this affects some certain people. This is where the women's rights comes in, because Karl Marx looks at it on a very more general scale, that he brought in both economic and social life, while feminism looked at the social life and human experiences. Is a kind of specialty in that area to bridge that gap, to challenge those social and cultural stereotypes that breeds inequality in our society. So this is exactly what feminism gave birth to. You know, when we also look into that feminism, we'll now be talking about the different types of feminism that people can, you know, wear your activism suits and you just focus on that. You know, some of us are more liberal in our feminist or in our feminism activity or activism, while some can be radical in nature, you understand. But remember that in the Karl Marx theory, it has some limitations, because the way he painted the society, like as if the society was in constant conflict, which was not. You understand? So this is the same gap that social changers like both of us comes in to bridge in this gap, to use the system, the already structure that we have, like as we have in the liberal feminism, making use of exploring the existing system to challenge these cultural stereotypes that hinders or does not really allow the marginalized group. We are talking about both women and the challenged persons, persons living with disability, people that also face a kind of challenges based on their social class, you know. So feminism comes in to look into this activity in a woman-centered perspective. Okay. It is not broad like Karl Marx, where both male and female were being fought for, you know. But this one is on a more woman-centered perspective. So only the interest of women was captured or being captured in feminism. So we cannot just talk about what women are doing in Nigeria without considering the efforts of Karl Marx when it has to do with challenging, or the theory just exposed how power play, you know, differentials in power in the society. So now, it does not stop there. You know, in the first and second wave of feminism, there are still lapses. So those lapses, trying to bridge the gap in those lapses, also gave birth to what we call the intersectionality. Yes, in the intersectionality theory. This intersectionality theory, you know, it captures where, you know, we talked about the women-centered approach. You understand? Yes, social life and human experiences. Where are the women? If there are women there, what are they up to? What are they doing? Try to capture women participation, women involvement, equality. That is what feminists looks at. But forgot there is this gap that feminists does not really cover, that intersectionality theory also comes in to bridge that gap. Where we talk about the intersectionality, where this race, equality that caused by sexism, racism, you know, here in Nigeria we talk about ethnicity. So these components, the kind of inequality that these components causes, that is where the intersectionality theory comes in to bridge it. You know, when you are being marginalized as a result of your ethnicity. I am using Nigeria as an example. You are being marginalized because you come from a certain region of the country. So you see how people experience disparity in the system, how people experience inequality in the system as a result of the situation they found themselves into. So that is where all these things intersect. This is exactly what Crenshaw, Chamberlain brings, this theory Crenshaw, puts on the table to let us know that, yes, even when you are black as a woman, you can equally be marginalized. You can equally be, yes, you can equally face challenges in the society where you may not be given equal opportunity like others to contribute to your quota. So this is how this women activism
came into play.
Women advocacy came into play. So Nigeria is not left behind because the world is a global village. True. So Nigerian women, we have our own peculiarity, our own peculiar way that we still suffer when it has to do with unequal access to resources, when it has to do with inequality, when it has to do with the cultural stereotypes that do exist, you know, the patriarchal nature of Nigerian society. You can also talk about the ethnicity problem here in Nigeria, where certain ethnicity is seen as being more equal than others, just like what Animal Farm told us, you know. So these are the peculiarities we have in our society, we have in Nigeria. So that is exactly what feminism, women advocacy, blah, 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 yeah.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about when Nigeria was colonized rather. Do you think that it had any effect? Did you think that it boosted in any way the clamor for women and, of course, for women's rights to be heard and seen?
Nigerian independence?
Yes.
Yes, I will tell you that being independent is a fortune, is a nice thing for you to stand on your feet and to say that, yes, I can be on my own and take decisions without having influence from anybody. Yes, I will tell you that it ought to be something that should favor women. But like I said earlier, you know, in our own society, we suffer peculiar type of challenges when it has to do with the cultural stereotypes. So we cannot write that off from the time of immemorial when we had our independence. Though then our women then who was part of the system were very active. You know, these were powerful women who, you know, initially, even before independence, initially, Nigerian women were at the forefront. Nigerian women has been so powerful. I think that the colonization, colonialism, has a way of influencing a foreign culture on us. And our men and our people then try to imbibe, to follow those things. You get me? Where at least I can give one example, the Christianity. Christianity that preaches things that also subjugates women, that you being relegated and you being subservient is seen as a virtue. There are plenty of verses in the Bible where women are being told to submit to their husband. These are derogatory statements to the person of a woman. We are talking about a human being. So clearly telling you in a piece of paper that you must be submissive to your husband. You get it? So this Christianity has never been favorable when it has to do with equality with women. I'm just telling you those foreign things that came in, that we bought into, and that changed our way of thinking. We are now struggling to see how we can unchain ourselves again from such shackles of bondage. I don't know how better to put the situation that we tried to bottle ourselves into, you get. So that is an example. If you also look at the ancient African tradition religion, though it does not really also give women such equality per se, but then you can understand from our forefathers, our great-grandmom, when they tell us story by the moonlight, you understand that they enjoyed some level of freedom, because you are left to be with your children. You are to fend for them. Your man is to provide some certain things. And you know, when a man marries more wives and has more children, it amounts to his wealth. It adds to his wealth. So you see that you will be given a kind of dynasty. You have your own dynasty. Let me put it, because I saw my grandmother's dynasty. My grandfather had 3 wives. So each of the wives all have their own dynasty with their children. So I saw her own dynasty. She is the queen of that dynasty. So every other rival had their own dynasty. So yes,
is the fact that you call the others rivals, are they really rivals?
Co-wives, okay. Let me put it that. Now we say rivals.
Oh, well.
Yes, modernity. Now we say rival, but then it was co-wives. And they all work together to make sure that the man's wealth keep expanding. You know, the more powerful and more resourceful a woman was, then amounts and our accounts to the wealth of her husband. Your husband is your king, and he also sees you as his queen, all of them, and he loves them equally. He shares his resources equally, unlike what we have now through the teachings of the Christianity, where you are told that one man, one wife. At the end of the day, it boils down to be one man, plenty concubines. So who are hypocrisy here and there. I am not here, I'm not criticizing the Bible, honestly, understand me. But I am saying that at least we had a culture, we were fantastic during those days when we were practicing all of these things. You know, everybody had their own respect. Then I understood then that my grandmother would say, if a man misbehaves to his wife, co-women will be the one to challenge the man who mistreats his wife. I don't see that happening anymore. I don't know if it is happening myself. I think it's difficult for me to see that type of situation. It happens to, we now see a situation whereby cultural stereotype gains more weight. And you know, this culture we talk about, this tradition and culture we are talking about is not written anywhere. It is not being anywhere written. It's not documented. So you see, every society, every community come up with their own style of leadership, come up with their own way of installing or instilling this in these customary laws that are very harmful and discriminatory to women in a very peculiar way. If I come to this community way of practicing theirs would be different from this other community. So continue to intersect.
I was about to head to the issue of widowhood practices. You talked about the fact that in time past, women would actually stand up for another woman and fight the man to change his ways and attitudes towards his wife. What would you say about widowhood practices? I will not let you talk now. I'll take a short break, and when I get back, we'll get talking. This is Woman to Woman. Stay with us. Thank you so much for staying with us on the program Woman to Woman with yours truly, Ameze Bazwai. I still have my guest in the building talking about Doris Ogbefun, and we've been looking at, of course, women's rights and how it has evolved over time. So I asked a question before we went on that short break, and I would love you to answer the question right now. Talking about widowhood practices, you get to see in some cultures, women are subjected to some harmful widowhood practices. Do you think that women are even helping women in that regard? Because a lot of times you see it's the woman who would actually shave another woman's head, who would wash the dead body and of course give the woman to drink and all of that. In fact, some nasty things that really happen. Do you think in any way that women are actually supporting women?
I will answer that later, but I would like to make something clear.
Okay.
In customary laws, a way of implementation and practice, it intersects, it is different, and is something that is still not is not constant. It changes, it's very dynamic. The way some region practice theirs differs from the way the other do practice. Sure. But all the same, none has been fruitful or beneficial to women. Then method of implementation or enforcement, let me use the word enforcement. Method of enforcement of these discriminatory customary laws or harmful cultural practices against women. Your fellow women also becomes an instrument at which the male uses to enforce this very, very strong and powerful, dangerous, harmful practices against women. It's very unfortunate. And like I told you that culture is something that is dynamic. It changes, it's not static. The ways our grandmothers, our great-grandmothers practiced these traditional things differs now. There has been changes. And sometimes these changes could be very negative. Very negative in the sense that these days we now see more lazy women than the way we used to see then. Like those days, your grandmom would tell you that this person's grandmother, when she was newly married, she was not willing to do anything. They forced her to start a trade, you know, using the community purse. You know, they used to contribute money, have a purse where they use to support each other.
Okay.
But such thing now, I don't see it happening anymore. What do exist now, I'm talking about personal experiences. What do exist now is a culture of envy, culture of blackmail against each other when it has to do with the female folks. That togetherness is no longer there anymore. It's very difficult to get that togetherness to speak that one voice.
Yes.
So they are all very much interested in pulling each other down instead of building your capacity to be like the person that you are envying. You go and gang up, you blackmail to see a way you can pull such person down. And when you come in the public, you come to pretend to say sisterly, and I don't know whether it's bitterly. I don't know whether it's bitterly they call it in form of sisterly. I do not understand. But I believe that it is still something that is going to change with time. This phase, it will all face away. This is a phase. It will all pass one day. So I believe that we'll continue to engage to make sure that my fellow gender change from such ugly ways and embrace change that will make them reform themselves, and it will radiate to the society where, yes, everyone will be proud that women are working together, supporting each other to achieve single goal.
All right. Would you say that the social media platform, has been probably a game changer in ensuring on enhancing the fight for women's rights?
Social media. Nigerian social media
has it done more
space.
harm than good? Okay.
Nigerian media social space is something that we really need to step up a bit, at least to control it. Social media is somewhere we have the good and bad and the ugly.
Sure.
So it's left for you to choose the kind of information you want and make use of it. But I will tell you that fake life on social media compromises a whole lot of things. Cyberbullying, stalking, and stuff like that compromises the good qualities of social media, good things that social media supposed to have on the table for everybody to explore. But however, it is still a tool at which we can still use to continue to reach out, to continue to engage, to make sure that, yes, the change that we are asking for, the reform that we are asking for, we use it as a platform to hold those leaders who is saddled with the responsibility to bring a change using the existing structures, existing laws. Myself, I believe so much in liberal feminism because I see it that, yes, we can only achieve the change that we want, the reform that we want by exploring the existing structures, the existing laws that we have to engage to make sure that we bring the change that everybody glamour for, that we will be so proud of, that can be where every human person will be treated equally. Yes. So it will bring sanity in our society. And I believe that using the laws, we can achieve a lot. And social media will help us to engage brightly. I mean, media, the non-state actors like both of us can use it as a means of engaging the lawmakers, those that are in good position, the executives, those that are in good position to bring in this change into our society, because we cannot just do it alone. Advocacy and campaign like this will not do so much, but when we support it with laws and make sure that those laws are being enforced by serving as an instrument to continue to engage, to make sure that there is no lapses there we can achieve huge success.
All right, thank you
women
so much.
advocacy and activism.
Yes, thank you so much, Doris Ogbefin. There's a question I would love to ask, but time is not on our side. But you can just do it in 1 minute if you can. Okay. Let's look forward in the coming days. What do you think that future human rights activists, women rights activists, what issues should they be looking at? Should they be focusing on to ensure that those issues are relegated to the background?
Oh, it still boils down to the strong cultural stereotypes, the gender norms. We must tackle it from home. We must learn how to change this situation from the foundation, not just coming out to say it. It has to start from home. Every home, we need to focus on homes, and as well look at the government to give us laws and also repeal the old ones. You know, things are changing. We still need to be repealing those laws that have gone outdated. So by the time we combine these two efforts, our younger generation will be so proud of us to have a very serene and fantastic equal society where they can exercise their potentials. All
right. Thank you so much once again, Doris Ogbefin, for being here on the program Woman to Woman. It's always a pleasure having you here.
Thank you so
My name is Ameze Bazwai. This is where we'll call it a wrap on the program Woman to Woman. Next time on the show, we'll have another fantastic episode with another mind-blowing discussion on the show. Thank you for joining.